What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Ground Up Podcast. It is Terry. I am your host, and I am flying solo today without my co-host, Roy Mangrum, who is stuck behind a printing machine trying to get it inside of Barbell Voodoo. That's probably more details than you need to know. Also, more details. Whitney Wiser's here. Whitney Wiser-Savage.
Yes.
I said it right.
Yeah.
I'm notorious for screwing up names all across Nashville, and you're a friend of mine, and I almost did it again.
Well, you first knew me as Whitney Wiser, so.
See that, everybody, she's giving me a pass. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what friendship will do.
Mm-hmm.
Whitney, we've had you on the NFM podcast before, but I'm really excited to have you on this podcast because we're going to dig deep, right? This is the podcast for entrepreneurs. We like to talk about building something from the bottom up, and then, sometimes business does grind you up and spit you out.
Yeah.
So
every day.
There are lessons to be reflected on, and hopefully when you all are watching and listening that you will reflect on those, or you'll hear those and be like, oh, that's a pivot I can make ahead of time. So that's the purpose of this podcast, is to kind of save some people some headache. And we like to try to do that in the most entertaining fashion as possible. So here we are, and I feel a little bit embarrassed. Your water bottle's bigger than mine.
What in the world?
Look at that thing.
Well, I drink a massive amount of water. Like, I can't have those little bottles. I'd go through 20 a day. So there's a reason.
That's fair. And yours is cold too. So
Yeah.
You like cold water?
Yes.
You like cold water? Or you just like cold Defiance fuel?
Well, cold Defiance fuel.
Primarily.
Yeah.
That was my segue into this water is brought to you, or this podcast is brought to you by Defiance Fuel.
You should hold mine.
I should hold her bottle up because, yes, it is bigger than mine, but it is also the proper branding because Brian has not hooked me up with the new branding. So look for these bottles.
That's better.
And thank you, Brian. We love you.
Okay.
That was my commercial segue. So, Whitney, we want to go all the way back. So take me back to your high school days. Young Whitney Wiser, graduating high school.
That's a long time ago. I don't know if I can remember that.
It may feel like a long time ago to you, but when I look at you, you're perpetually like 28 years old to me.
Oh, thanks.
I don't see one gray hair.
No.
I have no idea how old you are.
Do you not really?
I really don't.
Oh, well, we'll just go with 28. That's fine.
Is that good enough?
That's fine.
Okay.
It's the water. It
How
keeps
did
me
you?
young.
The goal I want to get to is it's the water. I'm gonna start drinking some more of this then.
For real.
Just erase my gray. I kind of want to know how you got into entrepreneurial like that. Where did you get that entrepreneurial drive at? I know my story started early, but where did yours start? Like, what was something that kicked in gear while you were in school? Was it college? Was it post-college? Did you go to college? Like, I just some gaps I need to fill in for our friendship here.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So,
I'm trying to honestly even remember. It wasn't high school. I don't feel like I was entrepreneurial minded then. But marketing, I really started having like a fascination and interest in marketing. Because I took one marketing class in high school, and then I knew, like, I just wanted to know more about it. So that ended up being my major in college. I did go to college and got my degree in business marketing and business management at MTSU, so right down the street. But I started in corporate sales. I didn't really have, like, the entrepreneur mindset, and that just came later.
mm-hmm.
So I worked in corporate sales for several years, and I think after about 5 years or so, sitting behind a desk from 8 to 5 every day, I
I know
realized
where this is going already.
I realized I didn't really like doing that. I didn't
Yeah.
like working for somebody else. I am known as a rule breaker usually, and so just having a boss, and that just didn't really work well for me.
You were like systems and processes.
Yeah, like, why do we have to do it this way? Like,
Right.
this is the way it's always been done. I'm like, I hate that answer. I'm like, no,
I hate that answer
let's
too.
make new rules. This
Yeah.
doesn't work for me. And then I was heavily involved in competing too in the bodybuilding world at this time. And
This was while you were in corporate sales?
yes,
Can you speak of who you were selling for?
Dell.
Oh, for Dell. Okay.
Dell. Yep, I worked for Dell. And they only give you, like, with any corporate job, you have a limited amount of time that you can take off. But I turned pro and I needed a lot more time off to go compete like around the
Sure.
world and do what I did. And so it was just getting really frustrating for me. And I'm like, gosh, I wish I could just wear workout clothes all day, every day, instead of come to this job. How can I do that? So then I started thinking, I was like, how can I do this? And so I thought being a trainer, a personal trainer, was like my dream job of all jobs. And so eventually that's what I started out doing. But then from there is when, like, my mind seemed like it just opened to more and more possibilities on things I could do. Because after training people for a year or two, then I found out, well, maybe this isn't really my dream.
Well, I feel like before you move on, like that is the perfect mixture of personality / skill set to be a trainer, is to come from a marketing and advertising background.
I feel like
Because
you
that's all
need
you're
that.
doing.
Yeah, I feel like you need that knowledge in any industry, anything that you do. You have to know how to market yourself. And most business owners don't, because they don't have that knowledge. They're good at what they do,
Yeah,
not the
say
sales
that
side.
for the people in the back there, Whitney.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
I know.
Link below to learn more about business coaching.
Right, yes.
So you went, you got into personal training. Was that like just a switch flip? Before you answer that, there is something about, because I can already relate to your story in the sense of this is how it's always been done, and there's this system and there's this thing, but you just feel this overwhelming need to bucket
Yes.
and define your own way.
Oh, yes.
But once you start doing that, and I don't know if it's the same for you, but it almost feels like a peek behind the curtain to me. Mm-hmm. It's like once you realize that there is a way to be made outside of the norm, it feels like it's like there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow and you're just going to chase it.
Yeah.
Like there's something about that.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
That
You're right.
sparks, and then it never really goes out, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then, just like you're saying, I just realized I have this need to, like, create.
Yeah.
I just want to create things. That is what drives me. It's not necessarily the money or things like that, even though I do like money, but it's just, I want to create new things. Yeah, right. You need money because you got bills to pay.
That's true.
But yeah, I just like creating new things that just are outside of the norm.
So the recap is, you wanted to get away from corporate structure, find a job that would pay you to be in your pajamas while you created things.
Yes.
So.
Well, I didn't know I wanted to create things when I first became a trainer until I realized I didn't really like being a trainer anymore.
Yeah.
So I still, like, was working 3 jobs because I wasn't making the income as a trainer that I did in corporate sales. So I got my real estate license. I was trying to do real estate. I was trying to train people. I even took a part-time job at an IT firm doing their marketing for them. And I was, like, just spreading myself thin across everything. And I'm like, what am I doing? And so I think around this time is when I got the idea for the all-female Nashville Fit Show, which I didn't have a name for it then. It was just one of those things where everything was just so old school in the bodybuilding industry. And I'm like, gosh, they need to, like, catch up with the times. And, like, I remember.
Still a little old school.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Go on.
Hey, we're getting there. You have no idea.
Little bit by little bit.
Yeah, we're way ahead than what it was.
This is why I'm happy you're in the leadership role.
Yeah, it was. Oh, man. That could be a whole nother
That's a whole other podcast, yeah.
But anyway, I forgot where I was going with that.
I'm sorry. That's what I do. You were working several jobs.
To make ends meet. I remember. So when it, like, really hit me is when I was judging. So I was also a judge still at this time for NPC.
Okay.
So I was judging a show, and it was a show that doesn't exist anymore, so I can talk bad about it.
And had you gone pro at this point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Go on.
Yep. I had already turned pro, and I was a judge. Okay. So I was judging a show, and it was at this dinky, like, high school auditorium, and all they had was one dinky banner on stage. And I just remember sitting at the judges table, like, just getting pissed off because, like, it's just so little effort put into this. And I'm like, these athletes work so hard to get here, and the promoter can't even do more than put this dinky banner on the stage. And their competitor bag that they got was, like, nothing And it was just across the board. It was just like the most minimal effort put into every single thing. And so I got really frustrated and pissed off about it. And like now I know if you get that mad about something, like you might be called to change it. And so I was like, man, I can do a better job than this. And that's when I got it in my head. I could do a better job than this, even though I had no clue how to put on a show or an event, nothing like that. But just this drive.
Did that even enter your mind though?
What?
Because I know it doesn't enter my mind. You've never done it before. You're probably the most inexperienced person in that sense, but you know what doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, I didn't care. Like,
yeah, right.
I just
That's
didn't
what
care.
I mean. That's what I mean. It's like it doesn't. None of those actual factors matter once you realize that you want to change something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like,
it doesn't matter.
You'll figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
Along the way.
Or I'll die trying.
Yes, exactly. For real. For real though. So it was a long road kind of to get the show. It just all worked out. Like several people were already in line because you have to have a sanction from the NPC to get a show. You can't just have a show.
Sure.
And so there was already several people in line that wanted shows in Tennessee because every state can only have so many. And so it just worked out in a way that since my idea was so different, just all female show, I got the next sanction approval for a show. And Alan Sizemore, who's the state chairman, he wasn't the state chairman then. He was the vice chairman, but he was on his way to becoming one. He really had my back like the whole way and, kind of encouraged me and helped me think about it. He's like, I think this would work. And he was really the only one at that time that said anything positive about it because the state chairman at that time that I talked to and everybody else was like, I don't see why you would want to do that. Like you're giving up half your entry fee money. Like it's not going to be successful. And like that was pretty much the answer I got.
Sure.
So I was just like, okay, well, if it's not going to be successful, just let me do it and let's see what happens. Let me do it then, right?
I'll go down with the ship. I don't care.
Yeah. So I started the Nashville Fit Show and just tried my best, like, to do everything possible to communicate with the athletes better because that was a huge problem is there was no communication with the athletes on, like, where the show was, the time, like, just, like, the most simple things that you would think would be out there just weren't. So I was just on a mission to change that at that point.
Well, I want to back up a tad and talk about Alan because I know he's going to watch this, and I want to say sweet nothings. No, I think what Alan probably saw in you at that moment, because I don't like at this point you're young, this is your first thing, you're passionate, you've got a plan in your mind, even if it's only in your mind. And I know Alan because I've worked with him. It's the same type of thing. He recognizes work ethic and passion and drive.
Yes.
That's, I reflect on that's why he and I are actually friends.
Yeah.
And because of you, because you recognized it in, us helping you out too. And I know a lot of times that's what it takes to get high achievers' attention. And I'll just come in and I'll outwork you.
Yeah.
Like that's what I do.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. Like if you're not going to, over here.
Yeah.
Over here. I'll just outwork you. And that's a lesson, by the way.
Yes.
Like if you're listening to this, like you want something, prove it.
Yes.
Shut your mouth.
Yes.
And get your hands dirty.
Oh my gosh. I wish everybody thought like that. 'Cause so many people like are just looking to see like what are they going to get out of it? Like, and what does this pay? What does this pay? And I'm like, you don't get paid crap.
No.
To judge, to expedite, to do anything at these shows, like you got to do it because you love it.
Right.
So just come in and like work.
Right.
Like anyway.
And, well, it's a good point, and I want to stay here for a second.
Okay.
Because like this is the hard stuff.
Yeah.
Right. It's literally where the rubber meets the road as an entrepreneur, and because you don't know who's watching.
Mm-hmm.
Case in point, Alan Sizemore, vice chair,
Yeah.
saw what you were doing. Right.
Yeah.
If there wasn't a relationship, there is now a relationship. Whatever that looked like, you never know who's watching, and from that relationship, who will have your back, and where will that spring you? And here we are.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's it's not just us. And I realize as we're saying that, I said this before the podcast, is it sounds incredibly self-righteous to say that there's a drive, there's a work ethic, there's a passion, and it's often unseen. And it sounds like we're saying that because we've found the magic sauce. That's not the case. It is just the fact. that a lot of people want what those high achievers have worked their butt off to get to, and they want it without the work.
Yes.
And that's what we're alluding to. It's okay to want it.
Yeah.
Right? But, you know, get out there.
What are you willing to do for it?
Yeah, what are you willing to give up for it?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
It's going to cost you something.
Mm-hmm.
So, segue. What does it cost you? So that wasn't, I'm sure that wasn't a smooth transition. Once you got the Fit Show, it was, hey, this thing's actually going to work. Give me, slide the curtain back a little bit. Let's look behind the scenes and like tell us what some of the lessons you learned along the way.
Oh, geez. There could be so many.
You already talked about spreading yourself thin.
Yeah.
You know, as an entrepreneur, I think we all, once we realize that we have the drive and we know we can figure something out, it's hard for us to not be the baby rattlesnake and think, I'm just going to bite everything because I think I can fix everything.
Yeah.
Right? Like you try to get your hands in a lot of stuff.
Well, taking it back again before the show even happened, the thing that sticks out in my mind is before I even became a trainer, like I'd already turned pro at competing. You know, I knew how to work out. I knew all that. I didn't even think I could train people.
Yeah.
So it was a huge, like, mindset shift, like, and just me believing in myself enough to even train people. And the only reason I did is because people asked me to train them all the time. And so I finally just started training people, not even, like, getting paid for it. I just did it because they kept asking me to. So I started training people. And then after that, the next step was, like, I didn't know how to do, like, a group fitness class, like a boot camp or whatever.
Sure.
And so that was the next step, is I was, like, terrified to do that because I didn't think I could do it. Like, and looking back at this now, it's just crazy how different I think now versus then.
Yeah, but it doesn't also feel like it was that long ago, though, does it?
No.
Yeah, because I'm over here thinking the same thing. I remember when I had to flip the switch
Yeah.
to be the boot camp instructor.
Yeah.
And I felt like not me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so the first one, I partnered with somebody else that he knew how to do them, and so we did one together. And after that, I was like, what the heck? I could do this by myself. This was so easy.
Like, I
what?
totally overthought this.
Yeah. And so I started doing, I call them fit camps. I started doing those all the time. But it was just like pulling teeth to get people there because I was trying to appeal to, like, the general population people,
Sure.
which wasn't my market. It was the competitors. That's always been my market. They've always been drawn to me because of what I've done in the industry. And I was trying to get away from them and focus on just normal people. And so after, like, just a lot of time spent and energy spent trying to get people there, I'm like, what am I doing? I need to focus on the people that want me, like, and that want to learn from me. And so then I take it as just that was practice for hosting workshops that I do now.
Yep.
So easily and all the time for competitors. And getting competitors there is like, I just post the date and they start messaging me and I sell out. It's like easy. But
I have to, I'm going to pause you for a second because it's funny to me to think of you not feeling confident in that role.
I know.
And because oftentimes when we're talking together, I am the goofball. If you've not experienced this from this podcast thus far, and you are so professional, and I'm like, maybe I should dial it down. Literally every time. So there you go. That's a great. I mean, it's awesome to hear that because you even. I don't know that it's fooling me, but I'm convinced that you came out this professional from your mother's womb. So it's nice to hear that there were processes and steps that you went through in order to sharpen that part of who you are. Yeah. And I've seen you speak, and you speak with authority. And your dainty, quiet little self switches, and people listen.
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome. So, and she's had to get on me before too with her show.
Crack the whip.
Yeah. Get back to work, Terry.
Yeah, right. No, but, and even that, like, it's taken just practice and time and doing it over and over and, like, just even speaking, like, on podcasts or speaking in front of people, like, it used to give me so much anxiety, like, panic attack after panic attack to even, like, think about doing what we're doing right now that is just, like, nothing. It's just another day. Like, this is what we do.
This is what we do.
But 5 years ago, I would just I would have to write out exactly everything I thought I was going to say, or like bullet points to go from, and like, and I would still be so anxious about it. So it's taken time, and it took me, trying different things to figure out like, okay, that maybe that's not the route I'm supposed to go. But I feel like a lot of people are scared to even step out or be uncomfortable to try things. But until you try the things, that's how you figure out which way to go.
Right.
You got to figure out what doesn't work to figure out what does work most of the time.
Yeah, we do get trapped in comfort a lot.
Yeah.
And I think the story of an entrepreneur is like kind of test and see. Not everything works.
Mm-mm.
Right. And we are, granted, we are really good at celebrating the things that do.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of things that don't work.
Mm-hmm.
I make that reference now with Nashville Fit Magazine and the Music City Fit Expo. Some of these same ideas that I'm instituting now that are working great with these two entities, I tried to do them 10 years ago. I wish I had an actual copy. I could show you the original magazine that I created before anybody was in town doing it. It was called, what was it called? Physique, I think, is it? No, it wasn't Physique. It was not relevant. But tried all that stuff, and it failed miserably.
I didn't know you even did that.
Yeah, like we hand bound them.
Oh, wow.
That was crazy. We were doing workshops, and we did a little mini, expo. We actually called it a health fair, and that's the fastest way to kill any event.
Right.
Just call it a health fair.
Health fair.
That you get people looking for free flu shots. So don't do that.
Oh, yeah. Note to self.
Note to self.
Okay.
But that, I think that's the, you can go into that a little bit more if you want, but like that is a part of the recipe of a successful entrepreneur, is the ability to get uncomfortable, to put your back against the wall, whether it's literally or figuratively in that sense, and with trying something new. So
yeah.
What's that look like now? Like, are there still things that you're trying? There's things that you're experimenting with.
Partnering with you.
Yeah.
Big experiment.
I'm glad you picked up on where I was going with that.
Oh, okay.
How? Whitney, elaborate, would you?
So, the new Natural Show, the NPC Natural Battle of the Titans, that Alan and I are now partners on and promoting.
Weird. Wait,
right?
so you partnered with the guy that supported you?
Yes.
Who went from vice chair to full chair
now
because of your freaking work ethic?
Yeah.
Huh, weird.
Now he has asked me to partner with him to promote this Natural Show.
Let's go.
And we're experimenting by having it at the Music City Fit Expo.
I might have known about that one.
Maybe a little bit. You've been wanting this to happen. I was just thinking about on the way here, like, when did we first have that conversation? It was only 2 or 3 years ago.
It was, and I've got, I've told you this, and I'm sure it feels super awkward when I tell you, but a backup. I am. I guess people would call me religious. I fear the Lord. I am a believer. I am a Christian. I spend time in prayer. And one day I actually was thinking and praying about relationships. There are certain people that I wanted to work with. And I didn't know how to get in front of those people. You were one of them.
That's awesome.
And so was Roy Mangrum.
Huh.
And I prayed about it, and I let it go. And I was like, these are the two people that I want to work with. And I pursued the crap out of you guys. And with you, I did your show. So I did your show as a vendor at Opry, and this might have been
2020.
COVID year.
Yep.
And I heard your story, like your testimony story of how, what you've been through. And I was like, that I want to work with her. And I just knew it then. And then the pursuit started. So hence the reason I elbowed my way into your business.
You did.
I'm like, I will help you, and I will be the best helper you've ever had. and I needed to woo you in that way. And the purpose was, at that point, I thought was just to work closely with you. And then as it started going, and then my, things started working with Roy too, similar situation.
Yeah.
By the way, he rejected me several times.
That doesn't surprise me.
Well, it's because he did it in a very subtle way, in a very nice way, and he did it with advice.
Oh, okay.
But it was like I wanted to partner with him with my clothing line. I was like, let's do something together. Let's collaborate. And he was just like, here's what you need to do, and he would give me all kinds of great advice. And I'm like, I'm going to crack this nut. So I ended up doing a podcast with him before there were any podcasts out there, and that's kind of how that wall of Roy wondering who I really was was broken down. He realized that I really wanted to know his story.
Okay.
Because I've been watching him, and I want my mantra, and I want everybody to hear this because it's really important. Because I put these clips all over social media. When I say I want to partner with people smarter than me, right? Like that's why you're here. That's why Roy's here. Like I want those type of people in my life because they'll bring me up. That's the type of collaboration I'm talking about. So yeah, it was in my mind as soon as the Roy thing happened, and then the magazine thing happened, and the expo thing happened. I was like, oh, this is coming together, and I will work as long as I have to convince you that this is a good idea. And here we are.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that is wild.
So for me, it's been since that COVID show, so 2020. So for me, it's been 4 years.
That's crazy because
I've never told you this.
No, I was about to say. I'm just thinking. I'm like, I actually didn't know that, and that was the first year that I showed my story and got on stage and talked about it. That was the first year, and I did not want to at all. But it was just, no, I was so anxious about it. Oh, my God, it was horrible.
Well, that story changed my life.
I didn't know that that's what you saw, and then now we're here. But that's amazing. Yeah. No, God was definitely pushing me to do that, and I didn't want to do it at all. Yeah, but it's one of those things, like, you can't say no to God, like, on certain things.
Right. What it blows me away, like, I get chills thinking about this. And don't make me cry, and I will not cry on a podcast, is that listening to that, because you do that now. I think you've done it. You did a couple shows afterward.
Yeah, I do it at every show now.
The point of that, for whatever reason, like you're freaking changing people's lives. And I know that story has got a lot of weight behind it, because that was a really painful time in your life. Mm-hmm. But without that story, like, dang. And I'm happy you're here. Yeah. I'm happy you survived.
Well, yes, I am too. That story has really connected me to a lot of people, not just you, but it's like, it's crazy, like, because like even people that I've wanted to partner with, like if I tell them my story, it's like all walls come down immediately. Right. And they're like, how can I help you? What do you need? And I'm just like, oh, wow, it's crazy. So like the story, I mean, as horrific as it is, I feel like God gave it to me for a reason. Sure. And so I should use it. And as many times as I've told it and I'm like, I'm tired of telling it, I'm not going to, like, God gave it to me for a reason. So I'm going to use it. I'm not going to just keep it to myself.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, a million times over, thank you. So yeah, to wind that all the way back up without going down a very sentimental route of making me emotional.
Yeah, bring it back.
Don't do it. Like, that vision was there for me for a long time. So I appreciate you being willing and letting me work with you.
When you first said that you wanted to have an NPC show at the expo, I'm like, no, it don't really work like that, Terry. You can't just have an NPC show. I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that.
You realize how terrified I was to say that?
Really?
Oh yeah, because I knew there were some legality and some hoops to jump through.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, now I'm getting this out of my brain, and this it could end with rejection, and no one likes rejection.
Definitely got shot down. Yeah, but what it did plant a seed in my brain. Even though I shot you down immediately, it still planted a seed in my brain, because then I was like, well, how could this work? Like, then I started thinking, like, well, how could we make it work? And even though it wasn't going to work anytime soon, it was still there, and I was still thinking about it. And like, so your idea was out there. And I think I even talked to Alan about it. I mentioned it, and I'm like, well, it wouldn't really work for the Nashville Fit Show to be there. So anyways, it got the wheels moving anyways. So.
Yeah, that's true. I want to go into more of this, but let's take a quick break. Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Game Day Men's Health in Green Hills in Nashville, Tennessee. We are a men's health clinic. We're doing a lot with testosterone replacement therapy. So welcome to our clinic. What you'll be able to do is get your blood work. We'll send it back to our in-house labs. we'll test your total testosterone, your PSA, and then your H&H as well. So we'll get those results within about that 20-25 minute mark. You'll be able to sit down with our licensed clinician and go over your results. We do a lot with medical weight loss, vitamin injections. We have a few ED services as well. And then we also do a lot with peptide therapy as well. And it is something that you want to move forward with if it makes sense. You should be in and out in about 45 minutes.
Okay, we're back, and I really want to get into, and thank you, sponsors, by the way. I know it was a terrible outro, and it's a terrible intro because I want to get back to this story. So the seed, so I want to go back to, seed was planted, and there, so while that seed's planted, like after my pseudo rejection by Whitney, what I went back to the drawing board on, in the sense of, was that I have to be able to prove it to you with how good the expo does. So knowing that there are eyes watching, how could I really knock, how can we blow, the ball out of the park? I'm struggling with my analogies there. And Roy and I, working with Roy is great on that level anyway, because he's got a vision and a plan for what it looks like to produce a really amazing show, because he's been to so many of them. So that that naturally, it didn't take any effort. Like, hey, let's just make this thing better. I think we're of that same mind. Yeah. Right. So bigger the better. The more I can make it awesome. Like, I even invited you out one time. I was like, hey, let's. Yeah. You were like, let's just swap booths. I'm like, that's a great idea. Yeah. Like, I wanted you to be there. I wanted you to get soaked in and see kind of what it was like. So seed was planted. Alan and you decided to partner. Tell us how we got to the Natural Show, and then we'll talk about the show at the expo.
What do you mean?
Well, like, in a sense of, why do we need one?
At the expo?
No, why do we need Natural Show?
Yeah. The show, period. Okay, so, well, the NPC didn't really have a space for natural athletes that were very adamant about staying natural and I don't know how to word that, but so the NPC started introducing their natural events as of last year, and so it was kind of put in Alan's plate, like, hey, at Tennessee, we want a natural show in every state, or just about every state, so we want you to promote it. And Alan and Becca are basically like, well, we've got a lot on our plate right now, enough. And so Alan asked me to co-promote it with him, and I really wasn't expecting him to ask me that, so it was kind of took me back, and I was like, sure. I'm like, I don't really know about this, because I'm used to, like, my passion is all women's events, so that's what I do, that's what I specialize in. So I was like, okay, this is a whole different route, but yeah, let's try it out. So now we've got natural shows in every state, and they're adding a ton of pro shows and pro qualifiers for natural athletes. I
love this all the way around.
Yeah. So having it at the Music City Fit Expo, I mean, it just fits. Like, I don't know. It just fits because, bodybuilding isn't really mainstream, I would say. It seems mainstream to me because I'm just heavily involved in it. So I'm like, of course it's mainstream. Everybody loves it.
We think that, I think we're unified in that. And then we talk to a family member or something like, tell us about this bodybuilding thing.
Yeah, I'm like, what do you mean? Like, this is normal everyday life. Yeah, right. And they're like, eating
what
chicken and rice every day is not normal. I'm like, oh, I didn't know. This is what we do. So just having a space for natural athletes, I think it'll appeal more to just the general population, like anybody that would attend the Music City Fit Expo. I feel like this would, just draw more interest to bodybuilding in general.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm thankful that you guys are willing to jump in with us on it. Every year, I joke with Roy about this. I say, every year we have to make it more hard on ourselves. Like this year it's 2 days. Like we did a 2-day event. It's like, oh, this will be fine. It'll be great. I'm sure it'll be fine.
One day almost kills you. Why not try to? Right? That's what.
Hey, walk 13 miles in one day, zigzagging. Why not 26? Might as well make it a full marathon.
Right.
It's that part that I don't think we ever stop doing is putting yourself, proverbial self, behind the actual. Because
you can always make it better.
Yeah,
in our minds, there's always something.
Always something.
More.
How can we challenge ourselves?
Yes.
I guess we'll cross the bridge of what it looks like to challenge ourselves once we've done all the things.
Yeah.
Later.
Later. Yeah.
We'll probably be like avid skydivers at that point, just trying to get a rush. So what can people expect from the show? Who can get involved? I know there are levels, men and women, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then let's talk about sponsorship opportunities as well. So.
Yeah. So it's open to anybody. All you have to do is be part of the NPC. And so buying an NPC card basically buys your membership to the NPC. So at that point, then you can compete in any NPC show. So it's open to anybody, male, female. For people that don't know about the different divisions of bodybuilding, there's so many different divisions. There's 3 different divisions for men, so bodybuilding, classic physique, and men's physique. And so men's physique would be the least muscular, and then working your way up to bodybuilding, which is the most muscular. And then for women, there's even more divisions now. So there's bikini, which is on the lowest end, which is where I competed as a pro, is bikini. There's figure, which is a little bit more muscular. There's wellness, which is still pretty new, but it's basically for women that have bigger lower halves than upper halves, which a lot of women are built that way.
Sure.
So it's a popular new division. There's fitness, which is that's the fun one to watch, the fitness competitors, because they do the push-ups and the handstands and the flips and all that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, and then there's women's physique, and then of course women's bodybuilding, which isn't huge anymore, but it's still available if anybody wanted to compete in it. So yeah, anybody can.
It's interesting to hear what's growing and what's what's kind of on the downturn. Wellness makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Bikini's huge. Men's physique is huge.
We're helping you for a little while, and it's for me. It's still kind of hard to keep them all in in line and try to understand them all. I'm thankful for you for that.
Yeah. And if somebody wants to learn more about it, come to our workshop. We host free workshops all the time. And so the next one, we just had one, but the next one is going to be February 1st at Olympus Gym in Murfreesboro. And so come to workshops. This is how you meet judges, coaches, and just get connected and, figure out how to compete in a show. So, and you can go to the Tennessee website, which is www.npctn.com for all our shows, all our workshops coming up. And then on Instagram is at NPC Tennessee.
And we'll put all of that below this video.
Yes.
So you're still, we're in the process of, I don't want to make this is a unified thing. We're in the process of selling these sponsorships currently.
Yes.
For the Natural Show at the Expo. Are we allowed to say who the title is? Do we know?
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, the Navy.
Navy came in?
Yeah, yep. So they were one of our main sponsors last year.
Let's go, Navy!
Yeah, as our first year. And then this year, they're also going to be one of the main sponsors of the show. Nice. So
I'm excited about that because Lacey terrifies me.
She's awesome.
She's so professional, yet I also feel a little threatened by her. In all the right ways.
She's amazing.
She's awesome. She's like a poster child for what you can achieve in the Navy, and I think that's really freaking cool.
Yeah. It's so cool that she's so involved in the sport. So she is a competitor herself, and so that's the connection there, and getting the Navy on board. So
yeah, I think it's a brilliant move on their part, and to back a Natural Show too.
Yes,
very smart.
Yeah,
very smart. So while we managed to get through all of that without talking about. What was it? Give me one. You got to give me one pain point, one big thing that you had to navigate through that you consider pretty life-changing in the sense of entrepreneurship. Was there a day or a time where you didn't think, man, if X doesn't happen by this time, I want to have to get a job or and how did you do that? How did you scale the Fit Show? It seemed like it was pretty seamless and easy. Your first show was, where was your first show?
The first show was 2018 at the Vanderbilt Langford Auditorium.
And that, break even, made a profit, barely made a profit?
Made a little bit. And
okay.
That was,
disclaimer, that doesn't always happen. Let's just be
that's what everybody told me too. Yeah. They're like, hey, your first show, if you break even, you're doing good. And I'm like, I can't break even. I have to make money.
Yeah,
I'm putting everything I have into this. I had to borrow money to even get the sanction and pay the deposit on the venue.
The building, yeah.
So I'm like, I cannot break even. I have to make money.
Driven.
So I'm going to make money.
Love it.
So, yeah.
Love it.
When you have no option to fail, you will succeed.
Right. I mean, that's a lesson in and of itself.
Right. Like, don't give yourself an option.
You don't give yourself an option and literally do whatever it takes.
Yeah. A lot of lessons the first 2 years. I mean, really every year. But so 2018, 2019, it was at Vanderbilt. 2020 happened. And oh my gosh, that's where so many lessons came in.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that was kind of a turning point too, because the previous 2 years, I was like right at 100 competitors, or like right under. I think I hit 98 one year. So annoying. And so then in 2020, when my show was supposed to be in May, but you know, everything shut down around March or so, and they canceled like all the shows and all that. And so it became a really hard year. But again, like I was relying on the show. Like that's how I had to make money. Like the show had to happen. Mm-hmm. Show must go on, basically. And so I just kept calling different venues. And then most of them were like, no, we're not allowed to have events. We're not allowed to do anything.
Right.
And so I was determined, like come hell or high water, the show was going to happen. And so I finally got Opryland to agree. And normally they are thousands of dollars to rent that ballroom, especially the biggest ballroom that we had.
You got the big one.
I got the biggest one. But since everything was shut down, they were willing to negotiate on a very low rental price. I'm not even going to say it because it was very low for them. But they agreed to it. And so leading up to the event, nobody knew this except for me and my event coordinator at Opryland, but they still weren't approved to have events under Metro Nashville. Mm-hmm. It did not get approved until 4 days before the event.
What?
Nobody knows that. I just kept promoting and prepping like the show was happening no matter what. God, it gives me chills to talk about because it was
if
scary.
It wouldn't have been approved,
if that didn't get approved through Metro, like they couldn't let me have it. And only me and my event coordinator knew this. And so he had to go through all the hoops and whatever to get it approved through Metro, and they didn't approve it until 4 days before the show.
I remember not that, but I remember like there being a final like email right before with extra restrictions and guidelines.
Yeah, we had to do so much,
which I think was part and parcel because of the approval.
Yeah.
Like if you get approved, or if you do this, then we can approve.
Yes, exactly. And you know, every chair had to be 6 feet apart, and everybody had to have masks. Everybody had to have their temperature taken, and like so many hoops for us to do extra. But the fact that it got approved, so close, and it ended up happening in October that year because I just kept fighting. I'm like, whatever date we can make it, like let's just do it, like push it out. Maybe everything will be open by then, and so that was a lot.
Okay, well, that's amazing. I didn't know that. That's crazy. Can you do me a favor and just look in that camera? And there's somebody out there right now who is similarly set. Going back 5-8 years to younger Whitney, who at this point in my mind is 20 years old. Yes. They're watching this and they're like. They're in that similar position. They feel stuck. What they're up against feels like the biggest mountain / problem they've ever had to solve. Give them a piece of advice.
If you have a vision or a passion to do something, I believe God put it there for a reason, so you're meant to do it, and you're not going to fail, even if it's scary. You just have to keep going, keep showing up, keep putting in the work, and it'll happen.
There you go. That's simple. I like it. To the point. Where can everybody follow you?
Instagram at Whitney Wiser-Fit. And we didn't even get the show. The show Instagram is at NPC Natural Titans.
There you go. Again, below.
Okay.
It'll all be below.
Everything.
We didn't even go into the other things that you do. I know you do retreats and some leadership stuff too. Mm-hmm. But if you follow your Instagram, you'll see all of those cool things. Yeah. That's another thing. That's another thing I'm going to try to weasel my way into in the future.
What, the retreats?
Yeah, doing some of your.
Some
of those leadership things are really cool.
Oh yeah.
And people, obviously, we've learned, just in the little bit of time that we've been running the magazine, that entrepreneurs need help. Mm-hmm. It is a very lonely place.
Mm-hmm. Can be.
Oftentimes is very isolating and puts people in weird emotional places. So
That's why it's important to be part of a community, and G-Force, the mastermind group, Force for Good Entrepreneurs that I'm part of and coach with. That's what that community is for. But it's very important because it is lonely. But when you're connected like that to other people that go through the same struggles and they're just there to help, like you troubleshoot, and work together, like you got to have it.
Yeah, that's a good that's a good punctuation to this long sentence of our relationship and everything and our story up until this point is that I knew I couldn't do any of this stuff alone, and I had crazy ideas and crazy visions, and I was given 2 people that I wanted to pursued them. Thankfully, you guys let your guards down. Eventually, after me just yanking on your, please.
Yeah.
The point is I didn't want to do it alone, right? And that is exactly what you're talking about with G-Force and that type of stuff, is that you go further when you're going with somebody, right? You can bounce ideas, and you can have mental health check-ins.
Yeah.
You can have somebody kind of just, well, we're going to come over here for a second.
Yeah.
Like, it's important to have those relationships in your life. Yeah. So I say all that to say, super thankful for you. I think what you're doing in the city is both very impactful for making Nashville a healthier place, but also I don't know anything that is more impactful for women and women's empowerment, period, than what you're doing. So keep telling your story. Keep taking chances on people like me.
Hey, I appreciate you and people like you that are just willing to come work and help. Like, yeah, totally.
Let's do it. I can't say enough good things about you, and even RJ too. Hi, RJ. Love that guy. And Alan, you guys are you're change makers. So I want you to feel encouraged by that, and
Thank you.
that is one of the biggest reasons why I want to work with you. So if it's the expo, awesome. But let's see what else we can, blow up as well as we're going.
Let's do it. Yes, let's do it.
So I appreciate you being here today, Whitney. Guys, if you enjoyed this podcast, please, by all means, share it with your friends. Make sure you subscribe to it. Go find Whitney via the show notes below. Make sure you get involved with what she's doing as well. And we thank you for being here, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.